So yeah, welcome. For those that come from the Google Summer of Code presentation, so what we are going to see today is basically how to contribute to a project. I think that's the hardest part of getting into Google Summer of Code. The second hardest part will be like creating the project and contacting the mentors and things like that. But the first, making your first contribution is really the hardest part. Still, I think if you have someone that helps you, like now what we are going to do today, is much easier. So yeah, today, the goal for today is to make your first contribution. That's it, okay? So we are going to do it for GNOME, which is this organization I already explained on the Google Summer of Code presentation. So we have libraries, we have applications, different projects, and we have these guidelines, this wiki page, where we explain all the steps that you need until your first contribution. Everything is really well explained there, so initially you wouldn't need much help, but of course you will have some questions and problems, and people are there to help. Not only me and Ernestas and Felipe and Giri, but also in IRC, there are the mentors of each project, and they can help you with any technical questions, okay? Cool, so yeah, that's the goal. Go to this website. Is everyone there? Cool, so we start here, and basically what we say is that there are 4 steps. One is to choose a project, the other one is to build the project, the next one is to actually pick a task and fix it, and the 4th one is to submit the fix that you did. As I said in the presentation, the review tip, it doesn't really require much. So even if you are on your first year of university, it's fine. There are tasks for everyone, okay? The hardest part will be to understand the UI of themes, where the code is, but the actual tasks can be quite easy for you. So yeah, let's do it. Let's click here. And here we link to our chat room. You can click here. It will open on Matrix, Riot, which is kind of a portal to IRC, but is usually better. And it goes to this channel called Newcomers. And here you can ask any question that you might have once we finish the workshop or something like that, okay? So for example, click there and just say hi. Does it open for you, the channel, or? Does it work for you, or?
We just need to register.
You need to register. I forgot. Okay, yeah, take your time. Feel free to register. Someone called Room LS is typing. I guess that's one of you. Aha! This is you?
Yeah. So was the GitNet a server or?
IRC.gnome.org. Yeah. GitNet is the same there, because domains pointing to the server.
I'm directly in Matrix, so it's not Matrix service.
No, it's not. It's on IRC.
Yeah, it's on IRC. Yeah.
It's in the brink, so you have to that column on the right.
It's an IRC.
So,
yeah, so if you're
under the hood is IRC. On top of that, there is Matrix.
And can I connect through HexChat or?
Yeah.
I use Xchat or something like that. I don't use
And
Matrix.
it's free node?
No, it's irc.gnome.org.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
And the channel is Newcomers. Yeah. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is 2 left. But yeah, so here, once we finish the workshop, you can go here, ask me. There I'm Carlos Soriano. So you can just do something like this. Tap. What? Anyway, you can put like Carlos Soriano, and it will ping me, okay? And then I will answer there any question that you have, okay? There are other people there that can help, so yeah, don't worry about that. Cool. So once we have that, let's move to the next step. Yeah, we say we use IRC, but this Riot and Metrics is on top of it, and it helps because you can be connected all the time, and yeah, it's for free, so I think it's quite good for us. We put here some guidelines. This is pretty common in every free software project, okay, and organization. You have some guidelines to behave and what is expected, not only for you, but so you feel safe because you know what is expected from other people to behave towards you. So yeah, basically, patience, be respectful, and take the initiative and be self-reliant. And this is the same message I try to do on the presentation, which is being proactive. So it's one of the 3 keys to be successful in a free software project, okay? We have a code of conduct here. You can read it later on. And let's go to the next one. Choose a project. Now we really start. So here you have a list of projects that we recommend because they have mentors. They can help you with anything you need. And usually the complexity of those projects are not so hard as others. So we have Polari. It's an IRC client. The complexity is quite simple, and it has 2 mentors, and it's written in JavaScript. Who is used to JavaScript here? Can you raise your hand? You, a little bit? Perfect. I don't like it either, so. We have games, which is a game emulator. I think that's quite nice. So you can have retro games like Pokemon or Zelda or things like that, and you can play on the computer. I mean, for me, it's the application I like most to contribute because of this. And it's writing in Bala. Bala is a programming language similar to C#, right?
Yeah, C#.
Similar to C#.
If you know Java, you can...
Or like Java, it's similar to Java.
Object-oriented without pointers.
Yeah. And it's made by GNOME, so we maintain that programming language. Yeah, it has a mentor, Alexander. And as I said, it's an application I really like because of what is it, right? You can see here some screenshots. That's the thing. You can click on the projects. You will do it now when I leave you some time for choosing your project, and you can see screenshots for each project and how to get the games. And yeah, basically that's it. You have maps as well. It's like Google Maps, but for the desktop, and it uses OpenStreetMap, if you know it, and it's written in JavaScript. Music, which is a music player, written in Python. Who knows Python? Yeah, that's good. So written in Python. Nautilus, the file manager, that's writing in C, and I'm the mentor. Well, you can see here the project complexity. Usually it's simple, medium. Nautilus is complex. But it's complex in a way that I think, I don't know. What do you think, Ernesto? Ernestas is the other maintainer. I'm one of the maintainers of Nautilus, Ernestas is the other.
In what way it's complex?
Huh?
You're asking in what way it's complex, right?
Yeah, you think Nautilus is slightly complex, right? But I will say not in the algorithms, but rather in the how the code is organized and there's a lot of legacy code because it's a project that was created on 1999, so 20 years ago. So you can imagine that there is a lot of legacy code, and I mean that's the reality of projects. So that is good to know as well. There is also sound recorder. Is quite simple and is a pretty good application for your first contribution because it's just sound recorder and that's it. The UI is pretty simple. Photos, which is and sound recorder is written in JavaScript. Photos, which is written in C, and is a photo collection, similar to in the Android, you have the Photos application. And then Boxes, which is a virtualization project, so you can have your virtual machines in a very easy way. If you are used to VirtualBox or something like that, well, for those for me are crap compared to non-boxes because non-boxes is really easy to use. And the maintainer is here, Felipe Borges. The project complexity is complex, but still I think you can contribute just to the UI, for example, and that's going to be easy for you. Now, what are the tips for what project do I choose? So, well, you have the programming languages there, so if you are used to some programming language, you can choose by that. I usually don't, or when I started contributing, I didn't choose by programming language. I choose rather just because I like the project. And I think that's the main driver for you. If you like the project, you won't care about the programming language. You will contribute because you like, and then the internship of Newcomers of code is going to be, very smooth for you because you like the project. And since you have to be self-driven and proactive, for me, I think the most important part is to be, to like the project and the vision of the project. So that's my tip, but really, choose whatever you want because this is going to be just one contribution and then you can take your time later to choose any other project. If you use an application yourself, then that's probably also a main driver because you can improve something that you use every day, and that's something that is quite nice as well. Now what you can do is just install those applications, try them out, and then choose one that you like. Okay? So yeah, let's do that now. Let's give us 10 minutes. You can ask me any questions or anything until you choose a project that you like. Okay? Any questions so far? No? Cool. In GNOME, there are more projects. We have 450 projects. There is a lot of them. As I said, I put here just the easiest one, and those are all applications. There are libraries, there are a lot of different things, okay? But for today, we will just do applications because it's more visual and easy for you.
Or if some of the apps are not available in their distros, they can try it on our machines as well.
You can try what?
They want to just see the apps and they don't have it in their distros because we don't know which distros they have. You can try here and have a better new installation.
All right. If you cannot install the application for some reason, you can use the laptop of Felipe just to try out quickly some application. Okay.
Because I have them all. I don't have games. Install games. recorder is available in Fedora.
Oh, really?
Yeah, only people are packaging it.
Okay.
Now with Flatpak it's everywhere, but before.
Right. I mean, even just with the screenshots, sometimes.
I was able to connect the IRC because character I just couldn't
Couldn't handle one group.
joining them.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I use Riot.
I already added the channels in Riot when I use Fractal to access them, but I don't add channels or nothing. I just
Right.
browse. Because of the certificates, since we have this matrix bridge internally in Red Hat,
Oh yeah.
the certificates, they need to be uploaded. And with Fractal, I'm able to use Polkit and pass it. With Riot, so the certificate is always not matching for Riot.
Does anyone has chosen already the project that they want to contribute to? Which one? Music. Cool. Music, you too? Okay. Why did you choose music? Just curious.
Because of Python.
Right.
Because I'm interested in music.
Cool. So let's give us 1 minute more, and then we'll move forward, and then you can still choose a project later on. But so the others can also start building the project. Okay, does anyone else has choose already this project? Still deciding?
I think the music too, because there's only one project in Python.
Mm-hmm.
The Python is they say the best beginning language.
Yeah,
to start, so.
it's quite good. Yeah. Okay, so let's move to the next step, which is building the actual project and see how it looks like. So click here, And here, what we use to build the project is a technology called Flatpak. Flatpak, do you know containers? The word, at least, containers. So it's kind of like a virtual machine, but very light, okay? And it's used by a lot of technologies nowadays, like even Red Hat is the main technology that we use now.
Something like Docker?
Yeah, Docker is a container technology. Yeah. So Flatpak is kind of similar to that, but it's used for desktop applications. So the benefits of that is similar to the ones we have in Android. Applications are sandboxed, they don't depend on the host system, they don't depend on the actual system that is running on the computer, they just depend on some kind of runtime that we have for the application. So what this allows is that you can build the application in any system that you have. You have Ubuntu, you have Fedora, whatever, you can build the application with no problems, okay? So in GNOME we use Flatpak for that, for building applications, and for helping building them and contributing we use IDE called Builder, okay, GNOME Builder. You will see how it is later on. So here we go through this, and the first step is to get Flatpak. So now everyone go here to the Flatpak setup and make sure that you have it installed on your system. So for example, once you go here, you choose your distro. For example, in my case, that will be Fedora. And yeah, for Fedora, Flatpak is already installed, so the only thing here that says to you is to enable FlatHub if you want. Actually, you have to enable FlatHub so you can download the runtime and the SDK for the applications. So yeah, only thing I have to do myself here for Fedora is click here. It will open software, and it says remove because I already have it. Otherwise, it will say install. I click install, done. Okay. I think for you, you will have to do some more steps if you are using Ubuntu, but it's gonna be quite similar. So if I go to Ubuntu, yeah, you will have to run this in Ubuntu 18.10. And if you have an older version of Ubuntu, you can use this PPA made by Alex Larson, which is the creator of Flatpak. You will update and install Flatpak. And then you install some plugin that goes with GNOME software, and you add the repository. So those are just 4 or 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 command line instructions. You just copy paste those and it should work for Ubuntu. Okay? And lastly, you will have to restart the system. Quite different experience with Fedora and Ubuntu.
You need to install it.
Huh?
You need to install it.
Yeah, because it needs to be the sports.
For C groups, namespace.
Yeah. If you have any problems here, just tell us.
I don't have a connection somehow.
Sorry?
I don't have a connection somehow.
With the Red Hat Wi-Fi or?
I think it's called on my end. Because I was upgrading my system.
Oh.
It fell and somehow.
So maybe restart and see if the system is still alive. It may be that it broken.
There is an Ethernet cable there, so try connecting directly to the cable.
Yeah. It's working on Windows and I'm using virtual machine. So it might be.
Right.
It should work.
The system is broken, right?
Yeah, it seems so.
It doesn't do now.
Yeah, it doesn't. No. I think I don't worry. I'll mount a new image.
Yeah.
So maybe recover the moment.
I will just wait a little much, yeah. Yes. because I mean, it's gonna be maybe 15 minutes.
I got the question. I already got this FlatHub extension, and it should only add to FlatHub repository. So now I need to get through DNF this program.
So you follow the steps there, like you click the.
Yeah, I downloaded this thing.
Right. You click it.
I already done it, and I already install it.
You are done.
Okay.
That's it. So yeah, you can go to the next step, which is basically install builder. You can see the wiki page. Did everyone, except the broken system one, install FlatHub already? Or follow the steps for installing Flatpak and FlatHub?
Yes, but when I try to install the builder itself, it still says that the file is not supported. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you go, did you restore the system already?
Yeah.
Okay. So go to the Newcomers wiki page. Here. Yeah. Not for Ubuntu, it's a package called Traveler. So do that as well.
Sure.
And then here on the contributor has been downloaded. You can install it if you have some or whatever. I would recommend to just do this in the command line.
Okay.
And that will work for sure.
How about you, Melissa? Is it working for you? Or? Sorry? Okay. So you have Flatpak and FlatHub already? Cool.
Yeah, I fixed it. I just loaded the. I just restored the system. I just loaded the older version. And it works. So
Yeah, let's see if that's gonna work because I'm not sure if you're using a pixel. Yeah. So do it on this command line. In the Newcomers, then
Because it has integration with Flatpak, so you'll be able to build the Flatpak runtime for you and the application on top, and when you press play, you run against the runtime. You can do this on the command line as well, but it's just a very long command line. And it does caching for you, so once you just change your application, you don't need to rebuild the dependencies again. It was handy. I guess in the beginning, it would be the way to go, but later on, if you feel comfortable while using API or Emacs or something.
Is it working for you? Yeah. It will take some time.
Definitely.
It will take maybe 5 minutes or something. We'll continue.
Builder has already coded nice.
I want everyone to have it ready, so we can continue and then while you explain other things.
GTK, which PyChart doesn't have, but in the end it's
Alternatively, you could just code in PyCharm and use Builder just to build and run and
Use
that text editor.
/local project. Okay, I think that most important level. Yeah.
So everyone got it downloading? You not yet? You did already or? Ah, okay, yeah, then it's fine. But you have internet.
yes,
Okay. And for you, what was the issue? So it's installing now. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I think everyone has it now downloading, which is fine. It will take some time. I will show to you how it works. Let me see if Nautilus is gone. No, let me delete Nautilus locally so you see how it works for me. So once you have Builder installed and you click it, it will open this page. It says open a project. What you want to do is to clone a project from the GitLab repository that we have for GNOME. Here in the bottom you have suggested GNOME projects, so you can actually go there and see. So for example, Nautilus. I click here. This is filled. Clone project. Now I will download Nautilus. It will take some time. Nautilus is like 120 megabytes, so it's one of the biggest projects from this that we have. The first time there is a lot of downloads. After that, everything is ready. Because once you have the SDK installed and everything, you don't need to load that again anymore. And the same for the Git repository. It's 110 the first time, but then for every change, it's just the difference between one change and the other, so it's pretty small.
It looks which is perfect. In the quick search, I can find this program. I can try to run it by command line, but I'm not sure that everything goes well.
You mean Builder? Or?
This is Builder?
Yes.
Okay, so I tried it and there is some wrong GPG signature, not found.
Did you try to install on the...
Yeah, okay, now it looks
Okay.
good.
If it doesn't work, try to do it on the command line. Oh my god, this Wi-Fi is so slow for me. Let me try smaller project now to... music is quite small. Let me try music.
You can try Edrom if you have access.
I don't have.
I think I can share notes.
I mean,
if you want. It has,
but then for you it's gonna be slower, right? Because then we will share.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I think it's fine. I mean, I think it's fine. Don't worry. Thank you. Then let's see if it works, and if not, then we will try Edrom.
Edrom is like 25 megabits.
Edrom. Wow, nice. So for you, it's completed already? The download and everything? Okay.
I'm downloading a new image because the old kernel is not there. I cannot update it because it crashes, so I have to install new.
Okay. Yeah, so let's see. Let's see how music works here. Now, even the one thing that all of you have now here is that you have to download one thing and then it will work. And when I started contributing 5 years ago, we had to download almost the whole operating system, and it was like 8 gigabytes, and you have to build all of that. You have to build every project just to build your project. So yeah, that was insane. But yeah, nowadays it's just around 1 gigabyte, something like that, which is the runtime and the SDK, and then yeah, that's it, and then the application itself. Anyway, let's assume that this has been cloned, and I will put my project that I have here. Wait a moment, because I'm having some problems with copying my own project. I think. Nautilus is crashing. What a good day. Okay. Yeah, no, it should work. So for example, Nautilus, so once it downloads the project, here on the bottom you will see that is downloading other stuff, which is the dependencies of Nautilus, that is inside the container, inside Flatpak, so that should work fine. Then you will just have to be here play. So now here on the bottom is building Nautilus. So it's compiling every one of the files. It has 169 files, C files. Some warnings that I guess I have to fix. And here it is. So here is, for example, in the case of Nautilus, how does Nautilus work looks like for the developers? Okay, you will have the same for Python, for music, or for whatever. So, for example, once you have this, you could even play to change some strings, some text, to see that it really works. You can really change the application already and see the results. So, for example, here we have this edit. So let's change that. If I remember what it is.
That's probably the other one. Toolbar view menu.
Toolbar view menu.
No.
No, it's the other one. Here it is.
Oh, toolbar.
So, for example, here in edit, I change it for hello world. I save. And I click stop and I click play. Now it's going to build Nautilus again. Here. Now it's built. And when I click here, it says hello world. Okay? So more or less, once you have everything downloaded, you can really change anything that you want in the application, and you will actually make that change already. Okay, so yes, you can see the results. So that's the first goal that you should have now, which is just building your application and make some change. So you can see that you actually can do some change to the application and see the results. Does anyone started to download or build application already?
Well, still installing builder. Yeah, it's taking
Yeah, it's taking long.
1 megabyte per second. So
Wow. It's okay. But how much is it? The total is.
Slow down time as well.
it will take some time.
Yeah, it's installing the SDK. So the SDK is the biggest thing. It has all the libraries and everything that you need to develop. Yeah, that's gonna take a while. Don't worry, you already saw how it is for building the application. So while it's downloading, which is the important part, we can continue to, let's assume this has worked. Here you know how to do it, blah, blah, blah. Let's go to the next one while it's downloading, which is find some task to do and fix something. So let's click here. And here is the biggest part of the session, which is what you need to modify, find the task, get used to the UI. This is pretty common for every software organization. They have some issue tracker. Do you know what is an issue tracker? Something like GitHub. Do you know GitHub?
Yeah.
So in GitHub you have like issues, merge requests, pull requests, the code. So for example, issues is where people put the tasks and the priority of them and all of that. So you will see that here is the same. Once you get used to this, you can get used to any other project. Most of the projects, free software projects, are using GitHub. So you will see that once you get used to this one, you will get used to GitHub as well. Now, so we have plenty of documentation. You can look here. We have, for example, how to search for the API of the things in GNOME. You can click here yourself once you find a task to fix, and you can search here, for example, how to create a button. So you have a button here, and then it says how to create it. In this case, in C++, but you can see the same for C or Python or whatever. Then in each of those applications, you will have some resources as well, some guides for how to fix things in the applications themselves. And then, as I said before, you can ask in the Newcomers channels or in the GTK channel or anything. Now, let's go to pick a task. So click here in the project that you have chosen. So for example, let's choose music, which is what almost everyone has chosen. And here you see a list of issues. As I said before, this is going to be the same also for projects in GitHub and other organizations, okay? There are plenty of them, so that's good. And they are basically these filters by newcomers. So those are tasks useful for newcomers. So for example, just to see an example.
This is really easy.
Sorry?
This one is good.
This one?
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
It says, in-app notifications need to be dismissible. It explains a little bit how it goes now. Music notifications are displayed on the main view. You will have to get used to the wording a little bit, but once you try to reproduce the issue, which is the first step, you will see how it works. Once you read this, basically you will have to, as I said, reproduce the issue, see that you can actually, see the issue by yourself, and then you will have to search for where the issue is, where the code to fix the issue is. What we usually do is try to search for text. Like for example, the issue here says,
Notification.
yeah, for example, notification. So I will search on the project for the word notification. And then I will see, for example, if I do that in Nautilus, if I go here, for example, I use the terminal to do that, git ref notification. I get a few things already. So for example, I know that we have some notification handling on Nautilus application.c. So I go here and I put Nautilus notification. This is search for files. Application. Yeah, and here I can search for notification, and here, for example, I have already a list of notifications, and then I will read how it works like here. This is with C, but yeah, basically that's how you usually navigate on the code, is searching for tests that might be related to the issue. Okay. Once you have that, you just need to try to fix the code. And that's, of course, the hardest, well, not the hardest, because those are usually easy, but it still is one of the challenges. So, coming back to the newcomers guide. So yeah, you have chosen already a task. Once you think that that one is easy for you, basically, yeah, you need to identify a problem, which is what we explained now. And to fix it. And to fix it, we have some debugging tools that might be useful for you as well. And Felipe, do you want to explain that?
Yeah, sure.
The debugging tools?
Yeah, so for the UI stuff, we have this tool called Inspector. If you already did some web development, there is this WebKit Inspector or the equal inspector that is embedded in the browser that allows you to click on a widget and get the HTML code of that. You can change the CSS. So GNOME does stemming of the applications with CSS as well, which means that you can also tweak CSSs of applications and everything. Can I open your Nautilus here?
Yeah.
So for instance, here we have in Nautilus, it looks gigantic.
Yeah, no, if you release it, it changed the...
Yeah. See the aspect ratio. Okay. So GNOME has a shortcut to bring this, but you can also run from the command line GTK debug to bring the inspector out.
Yeah, I think it's the super.
And what's cool about this tool? Let me see it like this.
And what is this E shortcut?
Oh, Ctrl-Shift-I.
It's disabled by default,
yeah,
so
that's true.
there is a link there in the Newcomers wiki page, which links to how to enable. It's called GTK Inspector, so if you search for GTK Inspector in that part of the wiki page, you will see how to enable it.
So it has this speaker tool here in the corner, which allows you to click on some item in the UI and get information about this object. So here we see that this path bar container here in the top, this is exactly its name. So if you want to search for bugs related to the path bar container, you have here the name of the widget. So you can use git grep just like Carlos showed. You see here's the GTK box, so you can also look at the documentation of GTK box to see what methods and properties it supports. Here there's like a lot of information regarding size, allocation, and stuff of the widget. Here you can interact with the properties. So it's object-oriented paradigm, so you have objects with properties. So the GTK box here has some properties that you can tweak. For instance, here the border. So let's start playing. You see that the widget moves in real time. So sometimes when the issue you are tackling is an issue related to UI, you can pretty much fix it on the inspector and then just translate the fix to the code so it becomes permanent into your patches. So here you can tweak a lot of these. Here it's filling the whole alignment of the container, so I can just put it in the start and now the widget doesn't expand any longer. What else we can do? The margins, just explore. There are various other advanced features like event capture, so you can see how many clicks were emitted by a widget and things like this. But another thing is CSS. Some of the issues you're going to find out, they are theming issues. So text is not readable because the background has same color as the text or something like this. And GTK allows you to use CSS to theming the applications, to change the colors, the sizes, buttons, margins, and all. Here you can browse the CSS nodes. The nodes, they are like selectors, like the equivalent of classes in HTML, which allows you to refer to these things on CSS. So for instance, here we have the header bar. The header bar is this bar here in the top. So I can apply some CSS to the header bar by just header bar.
Do you know CSS? Yeah. Everyone knows CSS. Okay.
So let's make it red. So it's red. But this is really unlimited because you can, for instance, do animations. Here we have an API for animations, which you can specify keyframes. So you pretty much specify statues of the animation. So just to give you an example of the power of this, you're most likely not going to be animating so much stuff. But here I could, for instance, make it go from red, from blue to red. So I'm gonna call this animation police siren. That's it. Round, blue. Okay, so now I define how the animation is going to look like, and now I'm going to tell the header bar to use that animation. So I can use animation. It's going to take 2 seconds. The function that is going to transition between the frames is going to be a linear function. I want it to repeat to infinite, and finally the name of the animation.
Are you missing a, after the background blue, are you missing a, what's called?
I am closing here the brackets.
The brackets, yeah. Yeah.
So now you see there it's blinking. But really we can do whatever we want. Like, let's deal with the images here, all the images, and instead of changing the color, I'm going to make them rotate. So he has this CSS property, GTK icon transform, I think. And we can do rotate one time. So I guess here it needs to refresh. Yeah, so now you see the icons, they are rotating. I'm going to take the red away so you can see here.
Ah, yeah.
Okay. Let's see if we can help.
New feature.
It's a new feature.
And what's interesting about this is that it's actually the animations are very widely used on GNOME. I wrote this control center. Control center is our settings, like our control panel in GNOME. I wrote this user accounts panel where you manage your users in your system. Wait, tails, users. Yeah, so I'll create a new user here. So, I don't know your password. Thanks. I'm gonna create here a new user. Felipe is my name. So here in the top, we have this animation with this arrow following. If I want another user for Ernestus, I can. We also do some pagination here, so I'll create another user and you can pages. And these are pretty much those CSS transformations we saw before. So you see the inspector is a very powerful tool, and a lot of the issues you're going to use can be done here directly. It might be that the issues you find are like, this application doesn't look well with the dark theme. So some of the apps, they can have a dark version. If some people like the apps to be in a dark version, so here, for instance, you can switch it. Or sometimes you have accessibility issues, like some user foiled a bug that he cannot read it. They cannot read the text on this high contrast div. This is the one people have these abilities to read the theme that they use. So here you can iterate over these things. Here you can do some font scaling for the text. I guess some people who have problems to read, they would probably enlarge the fonts. So you can tweak all these things visually here, and when you find the right thing, you just translate that into the code. What else we can tell them about the inspector?
The hierarchy.
Yeah, the object hierarchy here.
No, it has to be on the header bar on the left. Those two buttons.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
Yes, this one.
Yeah, so here we have the widget hierarchy. So the widgets are organized as a tree, right? You have the main container, which is a window, and things are inside the window. So here you can see from top bottom, the Nautilus window is an object. So also you can go to git grep, like this search on the terminal, and try to look for this object if what you're fixing is related to the window. So here inside the window, there are some widgets. You see the ones here which are in gray if they are not visible. So we can make them visible maybe. Let's go here and the visible property and turn true. Let's see what shows up there. That menu showed up. So here you can iterate with this widget. What else is inside? Here we have the toolbar. So it's this bar here in the top. You see when you click here, it changes the color there. So containers, inside containers, like let's see, toggle button here. Oh, that button in the corner, the search button. So for instance, the search button uses an image, and the image is a search icon. So I can here just change it to something like, tell me a symbolic name.
Edit, I think.
No, now it's the GNOME not found icon there.
Folder symbolic, I think.
So now there's a folder icon there.
Yeah.
Or there's, I guess, a weather shower. Yeah, the rain.
The rain icon.
It's the one in our weather application. Oh, we also can change the pixel size for icons that hardcore the pixel value. Not this case, but I guess. Look at that. It's coming for you.
I think Nautilus is looking great now.
Yeah.
We should keep it forever.
People complain about the size of the header bar.
Yeah.
But add it as an option.
Cool.
So yeah, the inspector is a tool that can definitely help you in UI things, and it's going to be an everyday tool that you're gonna use if you are hacking on GNOME apps.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
explore it, play around, break the apps.
Yep, so that's it. There are also some demos of GTK, but I think with Inspector you have most what you need. So with this, now we are ready to try to fix the task that we have picked, okay? So now you will have the time and we'll be here just to help you try to fix something, search for the code. We are there for helping, okay? Cool.
Yeah. Bye.